But the 1990s
I've never seen that happen.
might be the most iconic of all time.
All right, welcome back to the show, everyone. Hope you all are having a good day so far. So I have to ask you all a question. Did we win? And by that, I mean, it wasn't too long ago that we had we done with the 90s movement, right? Now, I'm seeing added physicality entered back into the playoffs in 2025, which has been really interesting to watch. People hitting each other, bumping, all kinds of stuff, no calls. It's a beautiful sight to see. I hope it continues. And then also this monstrous video drops from Nonstop, which, if you guys don't know, is a huge million-plus sub channel. And this video has 700,006 views, or 706,000 views. All right, so it's getting out there to people. What's it titled? The Greatest Era in NBA History. Entire 1990s recap. So I ask you guys again, did we win? I swear, if we would have just laid down and accepted that whole we done with the 90s movement, like I think I don't want to know what would have happened with all the history revisionist stuff that was going on during that time. I wonder how successful it would have been, but we resisted, we fought back. It's been a hell of a ride, and I'm gonna enjoy this one. I'm not saying like it's over, like that the era is not gonna be attacked anymore, but it's all about narratives, right? That's what the media does. It's all about narratives. So if the narrative was that it was cool to hate on the 90s previously, but then it ended up not being cool, you know what I mean? Because everyone was speaking out against it. So is it now cool to appreciate the 90s again? That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, everybody, this is a long video, so let's get right into it. Like the video if you haven't done it. I'm linking the original video from Nonstop down below. And I think that's it. That's gonna be in the description. And nothing else to say. Let's get into this, guys.
Every NBA decade is special
it.
in its own right. But the 1990s
I've never seen that happen.
Yeah, we was different.
might be the most iconic of all time. During the 90s, we witnessed the greatest scoring run ever,
Here's Jordan for three. Yes!
the greatest rebounding reign ever,
Rebound, Rodman. He's unbelievable at that.
and the continued excellence of the all-time assist leader.
Oh, baby, what a play by Spurs.
We saw the best team ever assembled.
Yep.
We saw records that will likely never be broken, as well as notable rule changes and the continued globalization of the NBA as it became the most popular basketball league on the planet. Legendary feuds, iconic game winners,
Stockton, open three.
tattoos, dyed hair, and cornrows were all part of the decade that produced some of the greatest moments in NBA history.
Wait, who did the cornrows first? Was it Allen Iverson or was it Latrell Sprewell?
This is the full recap of the 90s, from the 1990 season until 1999.
Let's go.
The 1989 NBA season ended with 25 franchises, and the 90s started with 27 as the Minnesota Timberwolves and Orlando Magic joined the league. But one of the biggest changes came from the coaching side, as the Chicago Bulls hired an unproven coach who looked like a hippie and used sage during practices, but would end up retiring with more rings than fingers. NBC and
Let's be real, he is a hippie, but my God, he made it work.
TNT became new broadcasters.
Unsullied by sponsorship since 1989.
The 1989-90 season was historical due to the first influx of international
Yeah,
players who would
Sabonis.
all end up in the Hall of Fame. Vlade Divac, Drazen Petrovic, Sarunas Marciulionis, and Alexander Volkov. However, the first pick of
By
the
the way, I'm planning on doing a video on Papa Sabonis. There's a lot I need to learn about him anyways. So I've been looking around trying to find something that covers his whole career as opposed to just his NBA career. Because everything I hear about what he was in Europe was like, people were talking like he might be the greatest player in the world, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, I'm very interested to learn.
'89 draft was one of the biggest busts of all time.
The Sacramento Kings select Purvis Ellison from
Purvis Ellison, I remember you.
But it wasn't all bad, as Sean Kemp, Glenn Rice, and Tim Hardaway also got drafted.
Yes, sir.
And yet, the biggest addition to any team was the one of David Robinson, who was the first overall pick in 1987, but decided to stay in the Navy for 2 years. With the Admiral in the lineup, the Spurs improved by 35 games, which was the biggest turnaround in NBA history at the time, and Robinson became just the second newcomer who won Rookie of the Year unanimously. Jordan led the league in scoring for the 4th consecutive season, but in one of the closest MVP ballots ever, where 4 different players had a realistic chance to win, MJ finished 3rd in MVP voting, behind Charles Barkley and Magic Johnson, who won his 3rd MVP award.
In 1990, Charles. Impressive. DPOY, Dennis Rodman. No
Dennis Rodman won his first Defensive Player of the Year, even though he averaged less than 1 steal and block per game. While Hakeem somehow...
And that's great, by the way, because real defense...
Even though he averaged less than 1 steal and block per game.
Yeah, real defense isn't just... you can't gauge it with stats. I've been saying it all the time. You have to actually watch and see what's going on. Because you might get 2 steals and 2 blocks per game, but you might also be letting your guy blow by you while you're cheating for steals. You know what I mean? So you might be giving up a ton of points. You got to really look at the matchups. And with Dennis Rodman, anybody who was going against Dennis Rodman would have a bad day on offense. Even like Shaquille O'Neal. I don't know how Dennis did it, but Dennis gave everybody trouble, and that's why he's one of the greatest defenders of all time. Screw the stats.
Game, while Hakeem somehow finished 2nd, despite averaging 2.1 steals and a league-leading 4.6 rejections.
4.6 blocks
also
is hard
notched
to fight.
a quadruple-double during the season, becoming only the 3rd player in NBA history to do so.
Yeah.
In the All-Star game, East dominated the West, but Magic took home the MVP. And it was only the 3rd time in history a player on a losing team won the All-Star MVP.
Wow.
In the dunk contest, Dominique Wilkins defeated Kenny Smith, whose knees weren't as crooked yet, to win his 2nd.
That's the only dunk I ever remember from Kenny Smith is that one. I'll let you guys watch it one more time. I used to try to emulate this on games of horse when I was young, and just try to like catch it and lay it up instead. But the same setup regardless. It's just a layup instead of a dunk.
Dominique Wilkins defeated
right
Kenny Smith, whose knees weren't as crooked yet, to win his 2nd slam dunk title. In the playoffs, despite having the MVP and the Coach of the Year, the Lakers struggled in their first year without Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and got defeated by the Suns in the 2nd round.
It is all over. The Lakers have
Sucks
been
to
eliminated.
suck, Lakers.
However, it was the Portland Trailblazers who won the West, behind a great backcourt duo of Terry Porter and Clyde Drexler. In the East, Michael Jordan got his 2nd conference finals, but for the
Guys,
3rd...
it took me until just a couple of days ago to realize the new coach for Denver is Rick Adelman's son.
year in a row, he got punched, kicked, and grabbed by the Pistons and their Jordan rules. MJ still pushed the Pistons to Game 7, where he would score 31 points with 8 rebounds and 9 assists. But the rest of the Bulls starters shot an abysmal 23% from the floor, scoring just 43 points, and the Pistons blew them out to advance to their 3rd consecutive NBA Finals. In the championship round, it was very close, as 4 games were decided by less than a 6-point margin of victory. But the Pistons proved their championship pedigree, winning the title in 5 games, with Isaiah Thomas as the Finals MVP. Isaiah played the best series of his life, scoring 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists, shooting 54% from the field, and an unbelievable 69% for 3.
Damn.
Drazen Petrovic, who was by far the best player in Europe and one of the 10 best shooters in basketball history, played garbage time minutes, which shows how much the NBA teams didn't trust the Euros back then. And when the 1990-91...
Yeah, what a change to where we are now, where the European players are literally our greatest stars. It's changed so much.
The NBA season rolled around, it came with a lot of changes.
Pump it up.
8 teams changed their coaches, most notably the LA Lakers, whose Pat Riley resigned as the head coach after 9 years and 4 championships.
Pat Riley, of his own doing, resigned as coach of the Lakers. He knew as early as February he was going to do it. After the season, he made an agreement with Jerry Buss not to announce it until his replacement had been selected.
The Orlando Magic
he wanted more power, and he got exactly what he wanted.
changed their coach, but they changed
elsewhere, obviously.
conferences. And after they had more travel miles than any other team, they unsurprisingly returned to the East after 1 year. There were also some rule changes. The NBA instituted the Trent Tucker rule.
Hold on. What was this?
Magic didn't change their coach, but they changed conferences. And after they had more travel miles than any other team, they unsurprisingly returned to the East after 1 year. There were also some rule
Are you serious? I don't remember this. So the Orlando Magic were part of the Western Conference for 1 year. Huh.
changes. The NBA instituted the Trent Tucker rule, named after Trent Tucker, who hit a walk-off three-point field goal at the buzzer in the previous season with 0.1 seconds left on the clock.
0.1,
the new rule prevented any shot from being taken with up to 0.2 seconds left in the period, except for tip-ins. And after years of hacking, namely by the rough bad boy...
And then this led to a 0.4 second situation in 2000 and, oh man, I don't know, 2002, 2003, where Derek Fisher hit one. I don't know, man. If it's less than a half a second, I think you should only be able to tip it, you know, like a lob and then a tip down or a tip up, like a volleyball. But I mean, what are you going to do with less than half a second? You can't get a shot off. It's just not possible, is it? I don't feel like it is.
Pistons, the NBA introduced the flagrant foul. In the otherwise weak draft class, Hall of Famers Gary Payton and Tony Kukoc were drafted, even though the Croatian forward would stay in Europe for the next 3 seasons. The season started in Tokyo, at least for the Suns and the Jazz, who played their first game of the season in Japan, as the NBA became the first major professional sports league to play outside North America. On December 30th, 1990, Scott Skiles handed out 30 assists in a game against the Nuggets, which set an NBA record that still stands today. Rodman repeated as the defensive...
Crazy how good the Orlando Magic were right off the gate. You know, it really changed the narrative about expansion teams, when a team could be a title contender within a couple of years like that.
Player of the Year, Hakeem changed his name, Barkley spat on a little girl sitting courtside, while Jordan won another scoring title and his second MVP award. This was also the first season since 1981 that the Lakers didn't have the #1 seed in the Western Conference, which is insane and tells you how great of a player Magic Johnson was. The Lakers would defeat Hakeem's Rockets and the Run TMC Warriors in the first 2 playoff rounds. But in the conference finals, everyone expected the #1 seeded Blazers to advance to the finals again. However, Magic showed that he still owned the West, making his 9th trip to the finals in 12 years. Another crazy feat.
The stage is set for the Air Magic Show in the NBA Finals. Starting Sunday, it'll be Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls against Magic Johnson and the LA Lakers.
Yes, sir. Air
but the biggest story happened in the East. After years of bullying, Michael Jordan and his Bulls finally shook off the Detroit Pistons in a clean series sweep. And before the final buzzer sounded in Game 4, Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons walked off the court, passing by the Bulls bench with their heads down, refusing to congratulate the winners. MJ took this personally, and 1 month later he had his revenge on Isaiah. But more on that later. In the finals, things didn't start so well for the Bulls.
You're going to talk about the Olympics, Indy.
As the Lakers won Game 1 in Chicago. But then Scottie Pippen started guarding Magic, which changed everything and turned the series around. Jordan was absolutely spectacular, with 31
I don't feel like I need to say it at this point, but that narrative is actually false. Jordan actually did spend more time guarding Magic throughout the series than Scottie did. Not discounting Scottie's contribution. All I'm saying is it didn't happen like that. Where it was like, okay, Scottie, I'm done guarding him. Your turn now. And then he shuts him down. Now it was a unified effort against Magic Johnson to keep him on his toes, keep a fresh defender on him between Jordan and Pippen, constantly aggravating him, and it really worked.
Points and 11 assists, and nearly 3 steals on average, while shooting 55% from the field and 50% from 3. The 1991 Jordan was the best version of Michael, and it produced one of the most famous layups in NBA history.
Keep it going in the comments. I've been seeing it lately. Jordan sucks at 3, right? Yeah, except for when it matters. It seems like every video I'm reacting to, when it matters, he's shooting 40% plus from the 3-point line. So I don't know. It's interesting, to say the least. A spectacular move by
Bulls
Michael
won the
Jordan.
series in 5 games. And of course, Jordan was the finals MVP. But now, let's talk about Michael's revenge on Isaiah Thomas.
Olympics.
1 month after the season, around the time when Terminator 2 ruled the box office, the
good
NBA
movie.
League, Commissioner Stern, and the U.S. Olympic Program agreed to send NBA players to the Olympics after the collegiate athletes only won bronze in 1988. The first call was for Michael, who famously accepted to play, but only if Isaiah Thomas wasn't on the team. And on September 21st, 1991,
To be fair, I mean, at that point, Isaiah showed bad sportsmanship, and that's something we don't want to see on the global stage. Win or lose, you got to be respectful to your opponent, and they weren't. So it's a bad look. I'm actually a little bit surprised Chuck Daly was allowed to be the coach, because that was a bad look. And he was the leader of the team, even if that wasn't his idea to walk off the court like that, he was still in charge.
It was officially announced that NBA stars would participate in the Olympics. The 10 players chosen were Charles Barkley, Larry Bird, Patrick Ewing, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Karl Malone, Chris Mullin, Scottie Pippen, David Robinson, and John Stockton. When the public saw Isaiah off the list, the Olympic Committee received a lot of backlash because Thomas was widely considered the second best point guard ever behind Magic. And speaking of Magic, he would soon become the biggest story in all of sports. After a physical examination before the start of the 1992 season, Johnson discovered that he had tested positive for HIV. And on November...
Taking a moment real quick just to appreciate the fact that Magic is still with us and he's still healthy. Never imagined it. Back then, never imagined in 2025 we'd still have a healthy Magic Johnson. So very thankful for this.
November 7th, 1991, Johnson organized arguably the saddest and the most memorable press conference in NBA history.
I remember it
because of the HIV virus that I have attained. I will have to retire from the Lakers. Today.
In Magic's honor, Charles...
Man, we were crying. I don't remember if my brother was crying, but I was crying that morning. It must have been like a Saturday morning or something like that on a weekend or in the summer. I can't remember what it was. Whatever it was, I don't think I had school. Because I remember coming downstairs, turning on ESPN, as I usually did, and this is what I saw, and I was devastated. I love the Magic, man. And we thought this was a death sentence back then. The HIV virus was a different. It was just different back then. We didn't have any way to treat it yet.
Charles Barkley switched his number from 34 to 32, which he wore for the entire season. Dikembe Mutombo, Steve Smith, Larry Johnson, and Kenny Anderson got drafted, with Larry Johnson winning Rookie of the Year in another relatively weak draft class. Pat Riley, after a year of commentating, returned to the NBA.
Pat Riley won 4 NBA titles in his 9 seasons with the Lakers. He left LA 3 years ago, worked here at NBC for a year, and then joined the Knicks for the 91-92 season.
Who would become a defensive force and a perennial contender in the East. But as the Knicks grew stronger, 2 other East powerhouses were at the end of their glory days.
I mean, it became the Bulls' next rival, really.
Soon fall into obscurity. Larry Bird played his last season with the Boston Celtics, and despite having to stretch for 2 hours before the game because of his bad back, he still averaged 20, 10, and 7, and shot over 40% for 3. The Celtics won 51 games, which would be their last 50-win season in 16 years.
So today I'm retiring, and I'm still going to be around, but not in the capacity I once was.
The Bad Boy Pistons were also falling apart as Chuck Daly resigned by the end of 1990.
Really cool that even though it was at this point, he still showed up for the Olympics. And Magic says that he was Larry Bird was thinking about not doing it, but like Magic was like, "Come on, we owe this to ourselves." After this whole career we had against each other, like we get to play with each other. This is our one opportunity to do it. And I'm really glad they did, dude. Even though Bird didn't play much, it was really cool to see him and Magic out there. Even though the majority of the footage is Bird laying on the sideline, like you see, where was it? I can't find it. But, but Bird laying on his, flat on his chest, down, to keep his back straightened. That's pretty much the majority of the footage we saw of Bird. But he went in there. Every game he went in there, busted a couple threes, made a couple awesome plays.
to coach the Dream Team. On the brighter side, 1992 marked the start of the rebounding reign of Dennis Rodman. The Worm averaged an unreal 18.7 rebounds per game, which was the highest average since Wilt Chamberlain in 1972. It is the first of an NBA record 7 consecutive rebounding titles for Rodman. And during this span, Dennis averaged 16.7 boards per game, which is insane for a 6'7" forward. The Run TMC Warriors era also came to an end after Mitch Richmond got traded to the Kings.
It only lasted like a year, I think, right? Which is crazy.
It was fun. Just got to take it from there.
Luke Longley became the first Australian player to join the NBA, while Larry Brown became the first head coach to coach 2 different NBA teams in a single season, after resigning from the San Antonio Spurs to join the Clippers. Brown led the Clippers to the team's first winning season since their relocation to Los Angeles, ending their 15-year playoff drought. Another NBA record worth mentioning was the Cavaliers' beatdown of the Miami Heat. On December 17, 1991, the Cavs crushed the Heat by a score of 148-80. This 68-point win stood as a record for nearly 3 decades, until the Grizzlies defeated the Thunder by 73 in 2021. But the biggest story of the regular season wasn't any record, nor Jordan winning another MVP.
Look at Stewart.
But the biggest story...
Look at young Stuart Scott.
Story of the regular season wasn't any record.
Is that Stewart? He looks... That's got to be Stuart Scott, right? He looks so different, though.
Or Jordan winning another MVP, or John Stockton leading the league in assists for the 5th consecutive season. The biggest story was, again, Magic Johnson.
3 months ago, he announced his retirement from the NBA after testing positive for the HIV virus. But he was voted by the fans as one of the starting guards for the Western Conference Stars.
Even though some people had reservations about Johnson playing with HIV, as Charles Barkley eloquently said it, the players weren't going to have unprotected sex with Magic. Before the game started, Isaiah Thomas hugged Magic and kissed him on the cheek, which calmed everybody and provided one of the most sincere moments of camaraderie in sports history, including
I'll give it to Isaiah on that one. That was a really cool move. A lot of people took that whole thing the wrong way. That was not like a sexual thing, guys. Like, that was literally, everyone was scared. So this was trying to get everyone to understand, hey, it's safe. As long as he's not bleeding, this is safe.
Final shot of the game, a 3-pointer with 14 seconds to go, which ended the game prematurely. As all players ran onto the court to congratulate Johnson and exchange high fives.
By the way, I know you guys have made fun of me because I call that a buzzer beater. Hey, man, the game ended, okay? It's what they should have done for Jordan in 2003, too. After he hit that should have been game-winning fadeaway on Sean Marion, they should have just stormed the court and ended the game like this. Like, that's just the tactful way to go.
Magic was the MVP with 25 points and 9 assists. In the 3-point shooting contest, the best shooter of all time was sitting in his father's lap, watching Del Curry.
Oh, yeah, little baby Steph. Little baby Steph. Ironically, a lot of people don't know about Del, but I did like Del. I followed him when he was playing for the Hornets back then.
Lose the competition to Craig Hodges. After the All-Star break, the Lakers struggled without Magic, failing to win a playoff series for the first time in 11 years, losing 3-1 to the Blazers, who would go on to make the NBA Finals.
If I had been playing with them, we wouldn't be in this situation that we're in now. We're missing the emotion, and I thought that's what I brought to the team, where emotionally every night we were up and ready, and right now we don't have that emotional leader.
In the East, Riley's Knicks pushed Jordan to the limit, but Michael was too good for John.
Magic's got to have a hard time with what's going on in LA. Since LeBron's come around, man, he's got to have a real hard time.
Starks, and the Bulls won the series in 7. Then, after the Bulls eliminated the Cavs in 6, it was time for a showdown between the 2 best shooting guards in the league, Michael Ayer and Clyde the Glide.
I swear, I'm glad Clyde.
I'm
glad Clyde eventually got his championship, because it was a rough start.
speculated that the advantage Drexler had over Jordan was his outside shooting, to which Michael responded with the best half of basketball in finals history. In the first half of Game 1, Jordan scored 35 points, setting records for most points in a finals half and most three-pointers in a half.
Guys, I always forget about this, but I recently watched this. Actually, it was 3 or 4 days ago. I watched the whole game again, and dude, that 35 points in the first half is insane. He barely had to do anything in the second half. You know, he basically a lot of double teams started coming, as they should, because the guy just torched you for 35, and he just became a facilitator. Like, it was actually the most unselfish Jordan. It was totally unselfish. He could have gone off and tried to get like 70 points this game, but he didn't. Instead, he just wanted to clinch to win because it was just Game 1. So he's like, all right, I got the defensive pressure on me. They're guarding me all the way up into the three-point line now because he was bombing threes, and then he just starts facilitating to the open guys. It was beautiful basketball.
Records for most points in a finals half and most three-pointers in a half with 6. After his 6th three-pointer, Jordan looked at Magic Johnson, who was commentating the game, and shrugged, forever marking his performance as the shrug game.
By the way, once again, it sure does seem like Jordan's hitting a lot of threes when they matter the most, like in the playoffs or in the finals. I don't know.
Even though the Blazers kept the series interesting, with the series tied after Game 4, MJ was simply on another planet, and the Bulls clinched their second NBA championship in 6 games. Jordan, of course, was the Finals MVP.
Hey, let's not act like they killed him, though. You know, this series gets a weird reputation because of how it started in Game 1 with Jordan torching him. Hey, man, they took him to 6 games. It's no joke. They put up a good effort.
Averages of 35, 5, and 6, including 43% shooting from deep, while Drexler only shot 15% from downtown, as the short-lived debate on the best shooting guard in the world was settled. But MJ and Clyde would become teammates just several weeks later, as they joined the rest of the Dream Team in Barcelona. The 1992 Olympic Dream Team became legendary for the amount of Hall of Famers that cruised to a gold medal.
I loved it.
With the hype around a single basketball team that would likely never be repeated again.
All right, real quick, this is my favorite Olympics ever, because I was also really into track and field as well. And dude, the track and fielders at that time, like I grew up watching Carl Lewis and then Ben Johnson, I remember too. But Ben ended up in a drug scandal. So, Carl Lewis still, shout out. I'm trying to remember some other ones, but like I was glued to my TV during the Summer's Olympics. I mean, obviously because of basketball, I was absorbing every little bit that I could. But also, I was such a huge track and field fan at that time, too. So I was in heaven.
But before the Olympics even started, one guy that was supposed to be on the Dream Team just got drafted to the NBA.
The Orlando... If I remember correctly, was this the Olympics, too? With the ice skating incident, with the baton and the injury? I'm forgetting the names right now, but, the blonde woman who was going to lose to the dark-haired woman, and the blonde woman took a baton and, like, whacked they basically injured the brown-haired woman so that she couldn't perform, and she still won gold, I believe, which was pretty epic. But that whole thing, man, it's not a fever dream, right? No, I know it happened. I just wonder if it happened in 92.
Magic selects Shaquille O'Neal from Louisiana State University.
Oh, yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal was the #1 overall pick in the 92 draft, which also had other notable players like Alonzo Mourning, Latrell Sprewell, Robert Horry, and Christian Laettner, who famously got selected to the Dream Team instead of Shaq. But when the NBA season started, O'Neal quickly asserted his dominance and showed the Olympic Committee they made a mistake.
Yeah.
Shaq's unique blend of power, size, and agility made him a nightmare for opposing defenders.
That's okay. He got his time to shine in 96.
As well as NBA rims.
Bang.
Shaq famously brought down the
he's doing this
on
opposing
defenders.
Is that Mirasan?
As well.
Dude, he's doing this on George Mirasan. I think George Mirasan was like 7'6".
As NBA rims.
Bang.
Shaq famously brought down the entire stanchion in Phoenix, resulting in the entire basket construction collapse.
Yeah, I watched this one live. Yeah. Yep, and we waited for hours for them to resume the game because Shaq had to go. This is supposed to be like a Shaq-proof basket, and it worked because he wasn't able to shatter the glass because normally that's what he does. He shatters it, but instead, if you have enough impact on this bad boy, it comes down. You know, we didn't know that happened until Shaq tested it out like he did mid-game. But what a monster he was.
When he did it again in New Jersey, destroying the shot clock that
He
landed on his
rips it
head,
down on
the
this
NBA
one.
realized that they needed to change something to withstand the Shaq attack.
Yeah, they changed rules for some great players, and for this individual player, they had to change how they make the baskets. How crazy is that?
Starting from the 93-94 NBA season, the NBA had to Shaq-proof the rims, switching to tempered shatter-resistant glass and stronger backboard braces. With 23 points, 14 rebounds, and 3.5 blocks on average, Shaq convincingly won Rookie of the Year.
Wait, has anybody shattered a glass since they changed it to shatterproof? Or did Shaq really break down all those baskets and shatter all those glasses and pull off all those rims just in a matter of a year or two? Like 2 years. Because he might have actually done it.
Both shy
I'm trying to remember him doing it past that point, and I can't remember it.
the award unanimously. Shaq's dear friend, Charles Barkley, finally forced a trade out of Philadelphia before the start of the 1993 season, becoming a member of the Phoenix Suns. Barkley was the best American player on the Dream Team, and he carried that form to the NBA, winning the MVP award with averages of 25 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. Jordan won his 7th consecutive scoring title, tying Wilt's record, and after 8 years of leading the NBA in combined blocks and
That's one
steals.
of those years, if it was the best player winning the award, it would have been Jordan. But the impact that Charles Barkley made on the Suns was huge. So I get it why he won the award there.
Hakeem Olajuwon finally won the NBA Defensive Player of the Year award, averaging 4.2 rejections and 1.8 steals per game. On the negative side of NBA history, the Dallas Mavericks had the second worst season of all time,
Don't blink. Mavericks throw the inbounds away. Jeff Hornacek to Spoon again for the layup.
winning just 11 games with 71 losses. But when the playoffs started, there were no surprises, as 4 teams with the best record in the regular season made the conference finals.
Wow. Yeah, 93. Yeah, Bulls retired, especially Jordan and Pippen after the Olympics and everything. Damn, man. What am I looking for? Suns? Yeah. Look at our Suns. Or our Suns. Look at my Suns.
In another classic matchup between the Bulls and the Knicks, New York won the first 2 games at home, and it seemed like Pat Riley, Pat Ewing, and John Starks finally had the goods to dethrone Jordan. Michael had one of the worst series of his career, as the Knicks played the best defense he ever faced, apart from the Bad Boys. In 5 games of the series, MJ shot just 35% from the field, and the Bulls' heads were kept above water because of
Look at
Scottie
this series, man. This is crazy basketball.
Pippen, Horace Grant, and B.J. Armstrong. However, Jordan couldn't be shut down forever, and in Game 4, he shot 18 for 30 from the field, including 6 for 9 from 3, finishing with 50.
Oh, I just
Shot
gotta do
18 for 30 from the field, including 6 for 9.
Jordan can't shoot threes. Jordan can't shoot threes. Jordan can't shoot threes unless it matters.
From 3, finishing with 54 points.
54.
At the time, it was the 8th highest scoring game in the playoffs.
I don't know where he comes up with this energy. You know he's dead tired, but he did it anyways. And then not only he does that, but then what he's about to do to what he's about to do to the Suns. You guys are right in the comments, by the way. You're right. I don't understand how it happens. I keep reacting to these videos, not thinking about what's going to happen in 93. And I have to keep reliving this pain over and over again.
The Bulls tied the series, and then they won the next two games as well, advancing to their third consecutive NBA Finals. In the West, Phoenix and Seattle kept exchanging leads, and the series would eventually be decided in Game 7. And after he closed out the previous series with a game winner against the Spurs, Charles Barkley dominated in the clutch again, finishing with 44 points and 24 rebounds, and pushing the Suns to their first...
Can I just highlight this again real quick?
Finishing with 44 points and 24...
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I'm telling you, not just record-wise, but if you watch this team play, this was the best team in the league easily that year. Sorry, Bulls. Like, this was a better team. You had the better player. You had the best player.
4 rebounds, and pushing the Suns to their first NBA Finals since 1976.
Yeah. And we won't get back there until 2021. Crazy. All 3 losses.
I want us to win the world championship.
I don't know if I go that far, Charles.
No, I talked to him the other night.
But 2 days before the finals started, a tragedy struck. While driving to the Eurobasket qualifying game in Munich, a Volkswagen Golf crashed into a truck. Drazen Petrovic, who was sleeping on the passenger seat and wasn't buckled in, died in the crash.
For Drazen Petrovic, the Nets star was killed on Monday evening in a car accident in Germany.
Petrovic had just come off the best season of his career.
I forget he was a passenger too. Dang, man, he was just sleeping.
Where he averaged 22.3 points per game and got named to the All-NBA third team, becoming the first European player to make the All-NBA. At the time of his death, Petrovic was the all-time leader in three-point percentage, and he's currently number 4 on that list.
Hold up. Steve Kerr, man. Look at you still up there. Wow. Yeah, I mean, you got wide open threes from off of those double teams. Yeah. That's still you got to hit them. Drazen, if he had the opportunity in a couple more years, the Nets, the system in there and the coaching staff, like, he finally got a chance, and he finally got to just be Drazen Petrovic instead of having to play in that Portland system. It's a shame. I don't want to say it. He had the career he had. That could have been a future MVP. I'm just gonna say it. He could have been a future MVP.
The finals started with a minute of silence for Drazen, but when the game started, the Suns were awful and clearly afraid of the biggest stage.
Oh yeah. They never. None of these guys have been to the finals, except for Danny Ainge. I don't think I'm missing anybody. I think Danny Ainge was the only one who had experience in the finals, and that's when he was playing with the Celtics. So yeah, the Bulls did to the Suns what the Lakers did to the Bulls in the 91 finals, which is like, yeah, you don't know what this stage is like, so we're gonna whoop your ass. But it really starts in Game 2.
The Bulls won Game 1 on the road. In Game 2, Barkley finished with 42 and 13.
Yeah, he's not scared anymore.
Wasn't enough, as Jordan scored 42 of his own, along with 12 rebounds and 9 assists. Game 3 was a triple overtime game, where the Suns finally managed to win. But in Game 4, Jordan had the second best game scoring in the history of the NBA Finals, finishing with 55 points.
What are you gonna do?
The Suns managed to extend the series by
winning.
Game
I remember looking into that game, and he was shot over 50%. So it's not like he got 55 points, but he was damaging the team. No, not at all.
In Chicago, but in Game 6, thanks to the dagger 3 by John Paxson, the Bulls won the game and the championship. Michael Jordan scored 40 or more points in 4 consecutive games of the NBA Finals and averaged an NBA Finals record of 41 points per game for the series. But before the next season even started, another tragedy, as the NBA family lost another great player. On July 27, 1993, Boston Celtics All-Star guard Reggie Lewis collapsed during practice and died of a heart condition later that day, and the Celtics honored him by retiring his number 35. A week later, on August 3rd, another tragedy struck the NBA, as the police had found a dead body in the swamps of South Carolina, and it was identified as the body of James Jordan, Michael's father.
What is still unclear and will be for some time is what effect this tragedy will have on Michael Jordan and his future with the Chicago Bulls.
Only a month later, on October 6th, Michael Jordan shocked the world when he announced his retirement from the NBA following that tragedy.
When I lose the sense of motivation and the sense of to prove something as a basketball player, It's time for me to move away from the game of basketball.
However, the rest of the league had to keep going, and there were some new notable additions, as Chris Webber got drafted first overall by the Orlando Magic, who became the first team to earn the top overall pick in consecutive years in the lottery era. But because of Shaq's influence, who became good friends with Penny Hardaway during the filming of the movie Blue Chips, the Magic traded Webber to Golden State for Hardaway, who was the third overall pick. Jamal Mashburn, Allen Houston, Sam Cassell, and Nick Van Exel also got drafted in this class.
I remember that draft class well.
Magic Johnson returned to the NBA as the coach of the Lakers.
I do know that what it takes to win, and I do know what it takes to be a good basketball player, and that's hard work.
Joining the team for the last 16 games with a record of 5-11. The Lakers ultimately missed the playoffs for the first time since 1976, and just like he did when he was the Lakers GM,
I'm not going to be here.
Johnson quit the job. The Celtics also missed the playoffs, and this was the first time in history that neither historic franchise qualified for the postseason.
This storied rivalry has been reduced to a couple of clubs barely over break-even.
Magic's good friend Isaiah Thomas suffered a torn Achilles during the season, which forced his retirement from the NBA, just like Bill Laimbeer, who also decided to hang them up. On the other hand, another bad boy was thriving. Dennis Rodman, now playing for the Spurs, continued to dominate the glass with 17 rebounds per game. On top of his on-court performance, Rodman fully embraced his inner bad boy.
For those of you who've seen Demolition Man, just tell me down below. Like, I've seen Demolition Man. I'll know what you're talking about. This was awesome when he came out with the freaking Wesley Snipes hair.
To dye his hair almost every game. His front court teammate David Robinson notched a quadruple-double, which was just the fourth and the last time it happened in an NBA game. And to win a scoring title over Shaq, Robinson went berserk in the final game of the regular season, scoring 71 points, the seventh highest scoring game ever at the time. Reggie Miller became just the third player in NBA history to shoot 50, 40, 90 for the season, joining Larry Bird and Mark Price. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf shot 95.6% from the free throw line, which was the second best mark in NBA history.
Mahmoud was my guy.
Behind Calvin Murphy's 95.8% from the 81 season.
Damn.
Abdul-Rauf hit 219 out of 229 free throws in 94. And if he had made just one more from the charity stripe, he would have broken Murphy's record. But without Jordan in the league, Hakeem Olajuwon took the throne as the best player in the NBA. His Rockets started the season 15-0, which was the best start in NBA history. Hakeem became only the second player in history to win MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same season, after MJ did it in 1988. This was the closest Defensive Player of the Year voting in history, as Hakeem won with 23 points out of 101, in front of David Robinson with 22, Dikembe Mutombo with 19, and Scottie Pippen with 11. In the playoffs, Mutombo and his Nuggets became the first 8th seed to upset the number 1 seed, defeating the 63-win Supersonics 3-2 in the first round. Denver did a big favor to the Rockets, who didn't match up well with Seattle, and after a tough battle with Charles Barkley, Hakeem and the Rockets made the NBA Finals. In the East, the Jordanless Bulls nearly defeated the Knicks in the second round. But New York eventually advanced after 7 tough games. In the conference finals, the Knicks were losing 3-2 to the Pacers, and Game 5 will forever be remembered by Reggie Miller's choke sign towards Spike Lee. However, the Knicks had the last laugh.
What a great time in basketball, guys.
Games 6 and 7 to advance to their first NBA Finals since 1973. The finals between the Knicks and the Rockets were one of the toughest, physical, and defensive-oriented finals in NBA history.
By the way, hey man, Knicks fans, you might get back there this year. You're looking good.
As neither team scored more than 93 points in the series. After 6 games, the series was tied. But then, in Game 7, John Starks, who was the leading Knicks scorer coming into the game, had an absolute dud. Starks shot just 2 for 18 from the field, including 0 for 11 from 3, and the Rockets won the game 90-84. Olajuwon won the final.
If that doesn't tell a story of good defense by the Rockets, I don't know what does.
MVP with averages of 27, 9, and 4, with 4 blocks per game, limiting Ewing to just 36% shooting in the finals. And after such a low-scoring finals and overall decrease in offensive output compared to the 80s, the NBA wanted to increase scoring before the start of the 94-95 season. So they shortened the three-point arc to a uniform 22 feet around the basket, compared to the 23 feet 9 inches it was before. The league average from downtown was 33.3% in 1994, and with the shortened distance, it rose to 35.9%. And Steve Kerr led the league with 52.4% accuracy on three-pointers, which was the NBA record that stood until 2010, when Kyle Korver broke it with 53.5%.
Damn, Kyle Korver.
Also, starting from the 1995 season, players fouled while in the act of shooting a three-point attempt would get 3 free throws instead of 2. Jason Kidd, Grant Hill, Jalen Rose, Juwan Howard, and Glenn Robinson got drafted, with Kidd and Grant Hill winning the Co-Rookie of the Year award.
Grant Hill and Jason Kidd, the co-rookies of the year in the NBA.
Hill also became the first rookie in professional sports to lead fan balloting for the NBA All-Star Game.
Grant Hill drinks Sprite.
Coach Lenny Wilkins passed Red Auerbach to become the NBA's all-time leader in wins, a record that stood for 15 years, until it was broken by Don Nelson. Shaq won his first scoring title, Dikembe Mutombo won his first Defensive Player of the Year, while David Robinson won the MVP award. 1995 was also the last season for Moses Malone and Manute Bol. However, the biggest story was Michael Jordan, who returned to the NBA after a 15-month absence playing baseball.
Everyone was eating good while Jordan was gone. Now it's time for him to come back and take some of these awards.
The economy has produced 6.1 million jobs since I became president. And if Michael Jordan goes back to the Bulls, it'll be 6,100,001.
Jordan's announcement became legendary, as it consisted of just a 2-word fax.
I'm back. That's all Jordan said on Saturday. That was really all Jordan needed to say as his 17-month retirement came to an end.
Since the Bulls had already retired his number 23, MJ started wearing number 45. And in just the 5th game since he returned, MJ scored 55 in the Madison Square Garden in the famous double nickel game. But the number 45
Give my beloved Knicks a double nickel.
Last long. After Game 1 of the conference semifinals against Orlando, when Nick Anderson stole the ball from Michael in the final minute, which clinched the game for the Magic, Anderson boasted that 45 is not 23, alluding to the end of Michael's dominance in the NBA. So, for the next game, Jordan returned to the number 23, scoring 38 points in Game 2 and tying the series. However, due to the inferior front line, the Bulls couldn't battle Shaq and Horace Grant, and the Magic won the series in 6 games. The Indiana Pacers played another memorable series against the Knicks, highlighted by Reggie Miller's legendary 8 points in 9 seconds to steal Game 1 in New York.
And a steal. Miller retreats to the three-point line and hits it again.
In a series where 4 games were decided on the final possession, the Pacers defeated the Knicks, winning 97-95 in Game 7.
Yeah, what a mess. I remember. What a brutal mess.
The East Finals would also go to 7 games, with Orlando edging out the Pacers to advance to their first NBA Finals, becoming the first of the 1980s expansion franchises to reach the championship round.
Didn't take long.
In the West, the Rockets overcame a 2-1 deficit against the Jazz to win the series 3-2, but their championship dreams seemed to be over against the Suns, who had a 3-1 lead in the second round, with a double-digit advantage in Game 5. But Houston persevered. And completely turned the game and the series around. In Game 7, the Rockets won 115-114 on a Mario Ellie.
The kiss of death. Go ahead and show it. It doesn't hurt that much anymore.
Pointer, later dubbed as the kiss of death.
I hate you, Mario Ellie.
In the conference finals, Hakeem embarrassed David Robinson with this filthy move.
Yeah, he did.
Olajuwon was mad that Robinson won the MVP over him, and he completely outclassed his rival with 35 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 blocks per game.
Don't get
Before
mad,
the finals, Shaq was partying with teammate Dennis Scott for a week straight, but still, they were inches away from winning Game 1. Up by 3, the Magic's Nick Anderson had 2 free throws, but he missed both.
Shaq has talked about this one now, and yeah, you could see how they were celebrating making the finals. That party continued on. So them beating the Bulls and getting to the finals, like they thought they had already won. Little did they know they just defeated an underpowered Bulls team. So like you shouldn't really celebrate when you got Hakeem on the other side. But that's really what it was. Like they were pre-celebrating essentially, and then next thing you know, they got swept, right? I think they get swept out of the building.
However, Anderson grabbed his own rebound, and with 10 seconds to go, he got fouled.
Yeah.
If he made only 1 free throw, Orlando would have won. But Anderson missed his 2 freebies
This
again.
destroyed his confidence too, because it was over.
He misses four straight.
The Rockets had the final possession, and Kenny Smith tied the game with a three-pointer, which was the 7th three he made that game. And that set an NBA record for most three-pointers in a finals game, which wouldn't
Kenny
be broken
the Jet can still shoot, by the way. I still see him these days shooting lights out.
Until 2010. In overtime, the game was tied with 5 seconds to go when Olajuwon tipped in the miss by Clyde Drexler to win the game for the Rockets. Houston then won the next 3 games to repeat as NBA champions, and their 7 consecutive wins on the road was an NBA
there's
playoff
Clyde
record.
finally getting his. There it is.
Houston was the lowest seeded team ever to win the NBA Finals, winning as the 6th seed. The Rockets also became the first team to defeat 4 opponents who had 50 or more wins en route to a title. And one day after the
6th seed
finals concluded, the first ever NBA lockout ensued due to the labor dispute with the salary cap, free agency, a rookie salary cap, and revenue sharing. But unlike some future lockouts, a new collective bargaining agreement was reached before the season started and no games were lost. The NBA established its first Canadian teams since the 1946-47 Toronto Huskies, as the Toronto Raptors and the Vancouver Grizzlies made their debuts as the NBA's 28th and 29th franchises. Pat Riley became the new head coach and team president for the Miami Heat, for which Miami paid a $1 million fine and first-round pick to New York because they were found guilty of tampering with the former Knicks coach. During the offseason, Jordan was filming Space Jam, while also maniacally training to get himself into the best shape of his career. Kevin Garnett got drafted by the Minnesota Timberwolves, becoming the first high school player to enter the NBA since Moses Malone in the late 70s.
I did not know Moses Malone was drafted from high school.
Rasheed Wallace, Michael Finley, Jerry Stackhouse, and Damon Stoudemire also got drafted in this class.
Damon Stoudemire was a bad boy.
With Stoudemire winning Rookie of the Year. Magic Johnson returned to the NBA after a 4-year absence, playing 32 games for the Lakers, before finally retiring for good at the end of the season. But it was actually Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf who became the most talked about player in the NBA when he refused to stand for the American national anthem, stating that the flag
sucks, man. He got blackballed for this, and he was one of my favorite players.
Was a symbol
of oppression, of tyranny.
On March 12, 1996, the NBA suspended Abdul-Rauf for his refusal to stand, costing him $31,707 per missed game. 2 days later, he worked out a compromise with the league, whereby he would stand during the playing of the national anthem, but could close his eyes and look downward. John Stockton led the NBA in assists for the 9th consecutive year, and during the season, he became the all-time leader in assists and steals. Hakeem Olajuwon became the all-time leader in blocks, while Robert Parrish broke Kareem's record of most games played. And 4 years after the movie White Men Can't Jump came out, Brent Perry won the slam dunk contest as the first white player to do so.
Whoa,
and the only one.
He was the first white player to do it. I do remember that. He did it in the warm-ups. He did the free throw dunk.
Mac McClung won in 2023.
Okay, they're the only 2 white players that have won a dunk contest. Mac and Barry. Damn. I'm learning all kinds of stuff here. It's
Dennis
over.
Scott made the NBA record in three-pointers made in a season with 267, and it stood for 17 years until Steph Curry made 272 threes in 2013.
Yeah,
Gary
sure
Payton
did.
became the first point guard ever to win Defensive Player of the Year, and Jordan won his 8th scoring title, which broke the NBA record MJ previously held with Wilt Chamberlain. Michael also won the MVP, as his Chicago Bulls won an NBA record 72 games, with the best net rating in NBA history, a record that still stands today.
This year's Chicago Bulls squad just may go down as the greatest team of all time.
The Bulls steamrolled through the playoffs.
I mean, here we are, 2025, and yeah, they still are. No one's done it. No one's gone 72-10 and won the championship, or done better even. So no one's even matched that yet.
Losing just 1 game on their way to the NBA Finals, where
That's
they met
30
the
years.
Seattle Supersonics, led by Gary Payton and Shawn Kemp. The Bulls won the first 3 games, but then the Sonics came alive with 2 wins of their own after Payton started guarding Jordan. However, in Game 6, the Bulls finished the job, winning their 4th title, with MJ becoming the first player ever to win 4 Finals MVP awards. But just 1 season after
Dennis
the
Rodman
first
was also huge in that series too, on a psychological level.
lockout, the NBA had another one. The lockout was imposed after the league and the players' union could not reach an agreement involving $50 million in profit sharing from television revenue. But after just a few hours of negotiations, the players' union and the league reached an agreement. In the 96-97 season, the NBA salary cap was roughly $24 million. Only 4 players in the league were making over $10 million per season, led by Horace Grant and his $14 million salary. But then there was also Michael Jordan, who earned $30 million that year, which was more than what 21 other franchises paid for their entire roster.
He finally got paid at those last couple of years. He was getting paid so little, the majority of his career there with the Bulls. Actually, not even just with the Bulls, with the Wizards too.
Because at the time, there was no maximum salary rule, and teams were allowed to go over the salary cap to re-sign their own free agents. So Jordan took advantage of that, signing a big one-year contract. MJ's deal was trailblazing, and it led to other superstars soon demanding and getting more money.
The sad thing, the misunderstood thing is like this was like money that was coming to him for everything he did since 1984. But it did open the floodgates out, so all the young bucks, you know, the up-and-coming stars like Shawn Kemp and Shaq, they're like, I want that money too, which I understand. But with the Bulls and Jordan, it was really like, hey, we should have been paying you a lot better. You know, thank you for your service. Now we're going to give you a big old payday.
1996 free agency was the first modern free agency, where a plethora of superstars started talking to the entire league in order to get the best offer. Before 1996, no NBA player had signed a $100 million contract. No player had made $20 million in one season. But then, a big splash, as the biggest fish in free agency changed oceans, deciding to move from the Atlantic coast to the Pacific.
And now we're up to 50-something a year. I think I saw, LeBron is going to get paid like $53 million next season? I think.
The price of the product goes up. If a bidding war ensues, the price of the product goes way, way up. And that brings us to Shaquille O'Neal.
On July 18, 1996, Shaquille O'Neal and the Los Angeles Lakers agreed to what was then the largest contract in the history of sports. The contract was worth $120 million over 7 years, while the Orlando Magic were left stranded for their indecisiveness to re-sign. The Heat signed Mourning to a 7-year deal worth $112 million, but Riley wasn't done there, wanting to also sign Juwan Howard. It appeared that the Heat had Howard locked into a 7-year, $100 million deal, but the NBA voided the contract, citing the Heat for incentive bonuses for Tim Hardaway and P.J. Brown. Howard then signed a $105 million deal to stay with the Washington Bullets, while Charles Barkley got traded to the Rockets to join Olajuwon and Drexler. But before the season even started, a new crop of rookies joined the NBA, arguably the best draft class of all time.
The Philadelphia 76ers select Allen Iverson from Georgetown University.
Allen, Steve Nash,
Allen Iverson
Kobe.
was the #1 overall pick, but there was also Kobe, who followed KG's path and came directly from high school.
I have decided to skip college and take my talent to the NBA.
Steve Nash, and Ray Allen, all future first-ballot Hall of
Marbury.
Famers. Other notable players include Jermaine O'Neal, Peja Stojakovic, Stephon Marbury, Marcus Camby, Antoine Walker, Sharif Abdur-Rahim, Zydrunas Ilgauskas, and Derek Fisher. After a 3-15 start to the season, the Spurs GM Greg Popovich fired coach Bob Hill and started coaching the team himself, starting his 28-year coaching tenure with San Antonio. The Utah Jazz broke the NBA.
We got to talk about that soon, too.
Record for the biggest comeback, winning a game against the Nuggets after trailing by 36 in the second quarter. Kevin Garnett became the youngest player selected for the All-Star game.
It's the youngest man since Magic Johnson to make an All-Star game. Kevin Garnett.
And during the All-Star weekend, the NBA celebrated its 50th anniversary by naming the 50 greatest players in history, where Wilt and Mike enjoyed some trash talking, while Kobe won the slam dunk contest. Some of the most memorable regular season moments were when Dennis Rodman got suspended for 11 games for kicking a cameraman, and when Allen Iverson crossed over MJ.
Allen shakes straight.
AI also became the first rookie to string 5 consecutive 40-point games. Iverson won Rookie of the Year, and Jordan won his 9th scoring title, all while Karl Malone won the MVP over MJ, even though the Bulls won 69 games, narrowly missing being the first team with consecutive 70 wins.
Once again, it's another one of those situations. The best player was Michael Jordan, but you can't just keep giving him MVPs over and over again. If somebody else comes up with a major improvement or their team improves, it's most likely going to happen. You know, I always just like to think, what the hell, Embiid. Looking back, we're gonna go like, why did Embiid win an MVP? You know, we're gonna wonder what the hell. Like 20 years from now, we're gonna go, why the hell did that guy win an MVP? Well, they got tired of giving it to Jokic every year. You know, this happens.
For the first time in 10 years, John Stockton wasn't the league leader in assists, as Mark Jackson led the NBA with 11.4 dimes per game. In the playoffs, the most intense series was the second-round matchup between the Knicks and the Heat, which would start one of the most bitter rivalries of the entire decade. In Game 5, P.J. Brown flipped Charlie Ward on the hardwood, inciting a brawl between the two. As a result, Brown was handed a 2-game suspension, while Ward was suspended for Game 6. However, as a result of leaving the bench during the brawl, Patrick Ewing and Allen Houston were suspended for Game 6, while Larry Johnson and John Starks were suspended for Game 7. And even though the Knicks held a 3-1 series lead, with all the suspensions of their 4 best players, they couldn't battle the Heat, and Miami advanced after 7 games. But in the conference finals, Jordan and the Bulls made quick work of the Heat, limiting Miami to just 78 points on average.
Oh my God, 78 points? Holy defense, Bulls.
In 5 games to advance to another NBA Finals. In the West, the Rockets defeated the Sonics in a close 7-game series to make the conference finals, while Utah defeated the Lakers in 5 games in a series that will mostly be remembered by Kobe's 4 airball misses. In Game 4 of that series, Karl Malone hit all 18 of his free throw attempts, setting a playoff record for most attempts without a miss, since broken by Paul Pierce and Dirk Nowitzki. In the West, despite the Rockets' big 3, Utah was a better team, and they advanced after John Stockton hit a buzzer-beating 3 in Game 6.
Man. And I still wish we would have got to see the Rockets versus the Bulls, but yeah, that was it. The Utah Jazz were the better team, and they proved it again the next season. So it is what it is, but I would have liked to see that. That would have been, you know, the 2 big dogs of the 90s, essentially. Like big dog Bulls, little dog Rockets at that point, but I would have definitely liked to see that matchup.
Open 3.
Game 1 of the finals was tied with 10 seconds to go, and Karl Malone was at the free throw line when Scottie Pippen told him the infamous line, "The mailman doesn't deliver on Sunday." The game was played on Sunday, and just like Pippen predicted, the mailman didn't deliver, missing both free throws. On the other end, Jordan dribbled the ball down the court and then made a 20-foot jumper at the buzzer to win Game 1.
Clutch.
Malone had another poor performance in Game 2, which the Bulls won with ease. But in Game 3 in Utah, the mailman finally delivered, leading the Jazz to victory.
These out 2-0. Like they always start out commanding the series.
With 37-10. In Game 4, even though the Bulls had a 73-69 lead with a minute to go, with a series of misses and turnovers, the Jazz outscored the Bulls 12-2 in the clutch and tied the series. Game 5 was the most famous game of the series and probably one of the most memorable games of Michael Jordan's career. Despite a heavy fever and a weakened body, Jordan came out of bed an hour and a half before the game started and suited up. However, it was clear that he wasn't up to par, as the Jazz generated a 16-point lead. But then, Jordan started hitting, and the Jazz lead was slowly starting to melt. In the last minute, with the game tied at 85, Michael made a clutch 3-pointer that would secure the victory for the Bulls. Jordan played 44 minutes, finishing the game with 38 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and 1 block.
I'm pretty sure, because I just reacted to something about this recently, he shot 51%. Correct me if I'm wrong. And the guy was dying out there on the court?
Before collapsing into Scottie Pippen's arms. In Game 6, MJ was feeling much better, scoring 39 points. However, it was Steve Kerr who was the unexpected hero, hitting the game-winning shot.
Mini.
While Scottie Pippen made a crucial steal at the end of the game to secure the 5th NBA title for the Bulls. And the 1997-98 season was the year of the coaches. First, an NBA legend returned to the court, but this time, Larry Bird was not playing, but coaching the Indiana Pacers.
I forget. 1990, dude, his first season, he went 7 games in the conference finals. His first year of coaching, I forget.
Where he'd immediately win the Coach of the Year award. Secondly, Phil Jackson and the Bulls announced that the Zen Master would stop coaching Chicago at the end of the season, which created constant drama around the team in a season known as The Last Dance. Thirdly, the Warriors head coach PJ Carlesimo grabbed all the headlines when he appeared at a press conference.
I always remember that documentary as like one of the only bright spots in such a dark period of time, in history. But that was like one of the only bright spots. Was like, oh man, we got some new Jordan content.
Marks around his neck, which would later be discovered to be marks from Latrell Sprewell's hands.
Oh yeah.
Spree threatened to kill him, and he nearly succeeded, for which he received a 68-game suspension, at the time the longest suspension in NBA history. And speaking of violence, the Washington Bullets didn't want to be associated with guns, so they renamed the team and became the Washington Wizards. Tim Duncan got drafted first overall by the Spurs, who won 36 games more than the previous season, which was the biggest turnaround in NBA history. Hall of Famers Tracy McGrady and Chauncey Billups also got drafted. The NBA reverted the three-point line back to 23 feet 9 inches at the top of the key, while the distance from the corners remained at 22 feet. The league average dropped from 36% accuracy and 6 made threes in 1997 to 34.5% and 4.4 made three-pointers.
That's not bad. That's not a bad change. That's not a bad change at all.
Now, for comparison, in the 2024 NBA season, teams averaged 12.8 makes from downtown with a 36.6% accuracy. Violet Palmer and Dee Kantner
really
made
not shooting that much better. It went from 34 to 36, so like 2% better nowadays. Factor in the defense change. I'd be willing to bet 2025 playoffs that's happening right now, 3-point shooting is probably almost identical to what it was back in the 90s, because the defense is back in on these playoffs, so they're contested threes now. I'd be willing to bet.
History,
we'll find out.
Becoming the first female officials in major American sports leagues. The Denver Nuggets made the history books as the 4th team ever to lose 70 games in a season, finishing with an 11-71
What the
record.
hell? Holy crap, I don't remember that one either. 11-71? 11 wins? Dude.
On February 27th, the Indiana Pacers defeated the Portland Trailblazers, 124-59, marking the first time in NBA history that one team scored more than twice as many points as its opponent. AC Green joined the record books as the NBA Iron Man, surpassing Randy Smith's record of 906 consecutive games played. And Green eventually increased the record to 1,192 consecutive games.
Freaking Iron Man.
Kobe became the youngest All-Star in history, and for the first time since the '84 season, there was no slam dunk contest, as the league believed it was getting too repetitive. Jordan claimed his 3rd consecutive All-Star Game MVP, as well as his 10th scoring title, and his 5th MVP award. Dikembe won his 3rd Defensive Player of the Year award, while Tim Duncan won Rookie of the Year. Timmy also made the first-team All-NBA, becoming the first player with this accomplishment since Larry Bird in 1980, and the last to do it, as it hasn't happened since. In the playoffs, the Knicks and the Heat played each other again, and they didn't pull any punches. In another physical, emotional, and borderline dirty series, there was another brawl, this time between two guys who couldn't stand each other, Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning. A 5'9" coach, Jeff Van Gundy, tried to get in the middle of it, and he nearly got run over as he tried to hold on for
where is he? There he is.
Grabbing Mourning's leg. Johnson and Mourning got suspended for the deciding game of the series, but this time it was the Knicks who advanced. However, in the second round, the Knicks lost to Larry Bird and his Pacers, who made the conference finals against the Bulls.
Way to go, Coach
Chicago
Bird.
was on its last legs. Pippen was hurt, and all the other players were tired on the back end of a 3rd consecutive year with over 100 games
the Bulls
played.
were in bad shape, man. They were in bad shape this playoffs.
On the other hand, Reggie Miller was playing the best ball of his career, which he proved in Game 4, hitting a game-winning three-pointer.
The Bulls
after
were physically falling apart. Their bodies were falling apart, and we've got the Pacers who are peeking out.
Uncalled offensive foul on Jordan.
Get out the way, MJ. I gotta win this game.
The Pacers pushed the Bulls to the brink of elimination as they held a double-digit lead multiple times in Game 7, but the Bulls defeated them on experience, proving once again to never doubt the heart of a champion. In the West, it was much less dramatic.
Never doubt a team that's got MJ on it, man. Just don't do it. Don't do it. He's proven us wrong so many times.
Jazz lost just 3 games on their way to the NBA Finals, defeating the Rockets and the Spurs and sweeping the Lakers. Now, the Finals were another super close series, with each game decided in the final minute, except for the inexplicable blowout in Game 3. The Bulls defeated the Jazz 96-54.
Beaten by 42 and held to the lowest scoring output in the history of the NBA.
Is that the worst defeat in Finals history still?
The Bulls were trailing by 1 point when MJ stole the ball from Malone, and what happened next was one of the most famous sequences in NBA history.
Jordan.
Bang.
Chicago with the lead.
And when Utah failed to score, the Bulls completed their second three-peat, and Jordan left the game with 6 titles and 6 Finals MVPs. And after the season, Phil Jackson stepped down.
Phil Jackson cleaned out his office at the Chicago Bulls practice facility and made it official. After 9 years and 6 NBA titles, he is done as the Bulls coach.
And Jordan stayed true to
9. Like it was 66. Like, what does that say? That's a 66% chance you're gonna even better. It's like almost like 70% odds. You have him as your coach there in Chicago with these guys. You're gonna win a championship, guys. Don't blow it up, you idiots.
To his word that he wouldn't resign.
They had it all.
If
Look
Phil
at this. Look at this lineup. They had it. They were just getting old. So what? Let them try one more time. Try and get 4, and if it doesn't work, then blow it up. Like Jordan said, give them a chance to defend their own title. They earned the right to defend their title, and if they fail, fine, do a rebuild if you want, but don't do a rebuild while we're still winning.
Gone.
Michael Jordan said if Phil wasn't back, then
he's a man of his word.
But the NBA had even bigger problems than the retirement of their best player, because for the 3rd time in 4 years, there was a lockout, and this one was major.
The question everyone wants to know is whether or not this season can be saved.
The NBA owners wanted a limitation on players' salaries, not wanting to be pushed around by the players who started demanding more and more money.
Yeah, it makes sense because look where we are now. It's blown way out of proportion now. Not out of proportion. It's gone way too far now.
On the other hand, the Players Association opposed their ideas and wanted bigger minimums. After the two sides failed to reach an agreement, the owners began the lockout. By October, it became the first time in NBA history that games were canceled due to a labor dispute. Further games were canceled by November and December, including the league's Christmas games, which had been played on an annual basis since 1947, and the All-Star Game, which was not played for the first time since 1951. The lockout continued into January of 1999, threatening the cancellation of the entire season.
I think we sit and we wait and we watch as the season ticks away.
And despite a division within the Players Union, on January 6th, the union, the owners, and the NBA commissioner finally came to an agreement. The settlement put a ceiling on maximum salaries for players and a pay scale for first-year players, which ended the lockout after 204 days. On January 13th, 1999, while the lockout was still ongoing, Michael Jordan officially announced his retirement for the second time.
I want to say thank you to both of the gentlemen here, Mr. Stern and Mr. Reinsdorf, for presenting me with the opportunity to play the game of basketball.
When the play resumed, the regular season was shortened to 50 games per team as opposed to the normal 82. And to preserve games between teams in the same conference and shorten flight time, some teams didn't meet each other at all during the course of the shortened season. Dirk Nowitzki, Paul Pierce, Vince Carter, Antoine Jameson, Jason Williams, Mike Bibby, and Rashard Lewis got drafted. Scottie Pippen joined Hakeem and Barkley in Houston, while the Bulls missed the playoffs completely for the first time in 14 years. They would also become the second defending champion in NBA history that failed to make the playoffs, joining the 69-70 Boston.
That was the first time since before Michael Jordan was drafted in. Yeah, because the Bulls made the playoffs every single year after 84. And then once he was not a Bull anymore, or like once it was official, that was it. They missed the playoffs. Yep, big drop off. To be fair, I mean, those idiots, they blew up the whole team.
And Celtics, who missed the playoffs after Bill Russell's retirement. Karl Malone became the oldest player ever to win the NBA MVP. Vince Carter won the Rookie of the Year.
He's a two-time MVP.
And Allen Iverson won his first scoring title. In the playoffs,
and that's just because MJ's gone, man.
Carter won the Rookie of the Year.
No offense, no offense to AI. The guy's a killer. But yeah, Jordan would have got more than 27 per game. No doubt. Sharif. Look at you. Hey, man.
Iverson
Gary Payton was putting up 22 a game, too. Of course, Shaq.
First scoring title. In the playoffs, the Spurs lost just one game on their way to the NBA Finals, sweeping the Lakers in the second round and then the Blazers in the conference finals. In the East, the Knicks had another nail-biter against the Heat, winning the series with Allen Houston's buzzer beater in the deciding Game 5. The Knicks became only the second number 8 seed to advance in the playoffs by defeating a number 1 seed. The Knicks' Cinderella story continued as they swept the Hawks in the second round and then defeated the Pacers in 6 games to reach the NBA Finals, thus becoming the first 8th seed to reach the finals, something that would later be repeated by the 2023 Heat team. However, in the series against Indiana, the Knicks lost Patrick Ewing to injury, which proved to be an insurmountable loss against the Spurs and their Twin Towers. And even though they had 2 great scorers in Allen Houston and Latrell Sprewell, Tim Duncan destroyed the Knicks in the post, leading the Spurs to a 4-1 victory and their first NBA championship. Thus, the 90s concluded.
Well earned, Mr. Robinson.
Arguably,
congratulations.
The most legendary era of NBA basketball. Thank you for watching.
How good
And
was
if
Michael
you like
Jordan?
this one, subscribe and watch some more
Pretty damn
Nonstop.
good. Guys, I don't know how long this video has gone on at this point, but it's been an absolute blast. Can't wait to see you guys in the comments. I thought this was a really good video. I mean, there's a couple of little tidbits here and there that I'm like, I wish you went in more detail, but I mean, the video itself is already 48 minutes, so I understand they had to make some cuts. Great vid. My favorite era in NBA history. I'll tell you what, it went from the 80s to the 90s till about 2010, and then that's when I would say it was over as far as the peak. I would say this is the peak, but like it was still hanging on to 2010. Anyways, guys, I can't ramble about this long because this is a very long video, and I really have to go to the bathroom. So I got to get out of here. Guys, I can't wait to talk to you in the comments about this one. What do you think about this video? Did we win? Are we winning the battle? I think we're winning the damn battle. I think the 90s is coming back. I think it's not cool to hate on the 90s anymore. They tried to make it cool, but I don't think it's cool. And I think this is proof. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Like the video if you haven't done it yet. I'd appreciate it a lot. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And most importantly, y'all, be water, my friends. Now I got to go pee out some water. Deuces.